Should you rent or buy a home? In this video, I will explain some of the pros and cons of renting a home compared to buying a home. For many people, it just depends on their finances and their cost of living, but there are also some other important factors in play. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel. Here we discuss the latest breaking news in the United States and what you need to know about the current state of our economy. Now first, let's discuss your financial stability. You have to evaluate your current financial stability. Owning a home typically involves a significant upfront investment, including down payment, closing costs, and ongoing expenses, such as mortgage payments or property taxes. Renting, on the other hand, usually requires a security deposit and monthly rent payments. Second, ask yourself what long-term plans or goals you have, and see if buying or renting a home will help you achieve those goals. If you plan to stay in a certain area for a short period of time, or have uncertainty regarding your future location, renting may provide more flexibility. However, if you're looking for long-term stability and plan to settle down in one place, buying a home may be more appealing. And of course, make sure to study the current market conditions. Examine the real estate market in your area. Research housing prices, rental costs, and different trends. In some regions, buying a home may be more affordable than renting, while in other cities, renting might be the more cost-effective option. Owning a home allows you the freedom to customize and personalize the property as you wish. Renting often comes with restrictions on modifications. Additionally, renting may offer amenities like maintenance and repair services, while home ownership requires taking care of those responsibilities yourself. Now, if you decide to purchase a home, think of its investment potential. You should assess the potential investment benefits. Real estate can appreciate over time, allowing homeowners to build equity. However, it is essential to consider factors like property values, market conditions, and the potential return on your investment. But renting, on the other hand, frees up funds that could be invested elsewhere. You also don't want to neglect maintenance fees. Over time, monthly mortgage payments can become more cost-effective compared to rising rental prices. Moreover, once your mortgage is paid off, you will no longer have monthly housing expenses. Buying a home is a huge part of the American dream, though choosing to buy or rent is a major decision that affects your financial health, lifestyle, and personal goals. Both require a regular income and require a certain degree of effort to maintain your home. The biggest myth about renting is that you're throwing away money every month, but it's not true. After all, you need a place to live. While it is true that you are not building equity with monthly rent payments, not all of the costs of home ownership always go towards building equity. When you rent, you know exactly your housing costs each month. This amount is indicated on your lease, so you can plan things out accordingly. As a renter, you may face rent increases each time your lease is up for renewal. These rent increases can even be steeper if you live in certain parts of the United States. This may not be the case if you live in an area with rent ceilings or rent control. Renting means you're able to move whenever your lease ends. However, it also means you may have to move suddenly if your landlord decides to sell the property or turn your apartment complex into condos. Less dramatically, they could just bump up the rent to more than you could afford. Keep in mind, though, that changing your mind about where you're living can be very expensive, since real estate is an illiquid asset. You may not be able to sell when you want, and even if you do, you may not get it at the price you want, especially if the housing market is down. Even if it's up, there are significant transaction costs associated with selling your property. The overall cost of home ownership tends to be higher than renting, even if your mortgage payment is lower than the rent. Here are some expenses you'll be spending money on as a homeowner that you generally do not have to pay as a renter. Mortgage interest can make up nearly all of your monthly payments in the early years of a long-term mortgage. You can recoup some of that in tax deductions if you can itemize them. The decision to rent or own depends on your financial situation. The cost of renting versus owning depends largely on how long you stay in the same house, assuming economic factors follow historic trends. For example, say you cannot decide between buying or renting a $300,000 home. Your main concern is cost. In other words, is it cheaper to buy or rent? For example, if you buy, you will need a $60,000 down payment and $12,000 in closing costs up front. Renters do not pay closing costs, but they do pay a deposit, typically 1 or 2 months' rent. To recover the down payment and closing costs, you will need to hold the house long enough to sell it for enough profit to pay off the existing loan, plus costs and fees associated with selling. Where you are right now may not be where you want to be in 3 to 5 years or more, if your time horizon is more than 5 years away. You may be safe buying, since chances are it will be less expensive than renting over the same period. The state of the housing market and housing availability can both be big factors when it comes to the rent versus buying decision. If prices are sky high and going higher, you may want to wait until prices come down. So what should you do? Rent or buy? The decision to rent or buy is far from a simple matter of which is less expensive. Everything discussed here plays into your financial decision, which can range from buy now to wait, and rent to rent for life. Tenure, finances, location, job security, and so much more are all part of the decision-making process. The one thing you should not do is rush into anything, especially buying, since it's a much more complicated process.